Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are opening the door to a space that has just completely changed the global soundscape, the bedroom.
It sounds so simple, but it's true.
We're doing a deep dive into the whole technological and cultural revolution of the bedroom producer. Our sources lay out this amazing blueprint for how music production went from this $1 million venture behind studio walls.
Totally inaccessible.
Right, to something you could finish on a laptop in your spare room. So our mission today is to trace that exact process from old tape machines to modern AI and really figure out how these cheap interfaces and powerful software brought the magic home.
And that idea, that accessibility, that is the absolute core of this. The bedroom producer is so much more than just like someone recording music alone. They really embody what our sources call the democratization of the music industry. It's this movement where your biggest asset isn't money, it's the creativity of solitude.
The creativity of solitude, I like that.
Yeah, and if you think about it today, platforms like SoundCloud or Spotify, they did more than just distribute the music. They turned that private, solitary bedroom into a public stage.
A global hub.
A global hub.
Yeah.
The sources say the room has become the base of a new music city, a kind of digital city connected to literally everyone. So we're really looking at a shift where isolation became the launch pad for global connection.
That's a powerful idea. A digital city built from quiet rooms. Okay, so let's start at the beginning with the physical stuff, the analog seeds of all this. We have to go back to the 80s.
Exactly. Before digital really took over, the whole idea of home recording was planted by one specific piece of gear, the cassette multi-track recorder, the MTR.
Right, Tascam, Fostex. I remember those boxes.
Yeah, those boxes, they just sat on your desk.
And they were a game changer because they established that core idea of self-completion. Suddenly, an amateur musician could actually perform, record, and layer their own tracks.
You could take a demo all the way to a finished piece. It might have been, a bit lo-fi, but it was yours.
The lo-fi sound, though, that became its own thing, didn't it?
It really did. It was a trade-off, for sure, but the freedom it gave you was priceless. Our sources even point to artists like the legendary Ryuichi Sakamoto, who was making serious demos at home.
Wow.
Yeah, and this whole home recording culture started bubbling up, with artists handing out their music with, homemade zines. It was a real DIY movement.
Okay, so the MTR gives you the tool, but I'm guessing the learning curve was still pretty steep. I mean, you're dealing with physical tape.
Oh, absolutely. It was clumsy. You had to worry about hiss and rewinding, but it opened the door. And the next big step in the 90s, that's what really streamlined things by connecting it all to the computer.
Through MIDI.
Through the standardization of MIDI, yeah. The musical instrument digital interface.
It's one of those things that sounds simple, but it changed everything. It just meant your Yamaha keyboard could speak the same language as your computer.
And that common language, it just completely blurred the line between composing and recording.
How so?
Well, before, you'd compose a piece, and then you'd go record it. But once your synth and computer could talk, the two things became one iterative process. You were composing while you were recording.
And that fusion, the desk, the computer, the synth,
yeah,
that's where we get that very specific term from Japan that our sources mentioned, DTM.
Desktop music. Yeah, it's a great term because it's so literal. It's not just recording anymore. It's acknowledging the entire creative act is happening on a desk. And that perfectly sets the stage for what comes next.
The software studio.
The software studio.
So we go from DTM in the 90s to the standard of the 2000s, the DAW, the digital audio workstation. This is where the physical studio basically dies and gets reborn as software.
That is the perfect way to put it. A DAW, think Pro Tools, Logic, Cubase. It didn't just digitize the process. It took the entire physical studio and just collapsed it into one app.
Let's pause on that for a second. And for anyone listening, what does a modern DAW actually replace, like in physical terms?
Oh, man. Everything? It replaces everything. A pro studio had a mixing board the size of a car, these huge tape machines, racks and racks of gear compressors, EQs, reverb units.
Right.
Now, your PC handles all of it, the tape, the editing, mixing, mastering. And the sources make a point to mention Ableton Live, which was huge for electronic music because of its nonlinear looping workflow.
So the biggest barriers, cost, space, all that technical know-how, they evaporated. You didn't need to be a tape operator, you just needed a mouse.
And this is where that democratization really kicks into high gear. It's not just that the big, expensive gear became unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's that the sound of the professional studio became optional. The key things here were the flood of cheap, high-quality plug-in sound sources and all the sample packs that became available.
So instead of needing a $50,000 vintage synth, you could just download a plugin that was 95% identical.
Exactly. And that access led to this really profound aesthetic shift. Bedroom producers just stopped trying to mimic the perfect, polished sound of a pro studio.
Why fake $1 million room when you're in your actual room?
Precisely. The constraints became the art form. The aesthetic started to embrace the imperfection of the space itself.
You mean like background noise?
Yeah, incorporating sounds like traffic from outside, the creak of your bed, the hum of the computer fan, even your own breathing at midnight. The music started to sound like where it was made. The bedroom started talking.
And that intimate sound needed a way to get out. Which brings us to the mid-2000s and the explosion of distribution platforms. The final piece of the puzzle.
The final link in the chain.
You just can't overstate the impact of YouTube in 2005 and then SoundCloud in 2007. There were these direct free windows to the entire world. No more gatekeepers.
No more begging a label for a contract just to get your music in stores.
Yep.
You upload a file and bang, you have instant global reach.
And the success stories that came out of this, it's wild.
It's phenomenal. Our sources list a bunch of artists whose origin story is exactly this. You've got Clairo, Kuko, Joji, Porter Robinson, Madian, and from Japan, Sasecure.uk.
And the common thread is that they all
started in a room. They made music that felt emotionally raw, sometimes deliberately unfinished, and they became these global phenomenons anyway. They were sharing these deeply personal, solitary feelings directly with kids all over the world through social media.
It's like a message in a bottle from one quiet room to millions of others.
It is. It's less like a product and more like a secret conversation.
But this is where it gets complicated, right? We have to talk about the paradox of all that solitude.
Yeah.
Because if the bedroom is this wellspring of creativity, it's also, it's a symbol of isolation.
Absolutely. That freedom is intoxicating, but it comes with a huge weight. The artist now has to do everything.
Everything.
Production, mixing, mastering, distribution, promotion, social media, negotiating deals. You're the entire company.
You're the CEO and the janitor.
That's it. And the sources called this the anxiety of having to handle everything yourself. That whole support system of a label, the division of labor, the managers, the engineers, it's gone.
And that pressure, that loneliness. Our sources argue that's the actual source of the creativity. It changes music from a social act, like a band in a garage,
to individual meditation.
Right.
When you're in that room and every single decision is on you, the output is almost forced to be intensely personal,
Right.
deeply introspective.
And somehow that introspective sound is what connects universally.
Because it's authentic. That intensely personal sound is also simultaneously universal because it's speaking to the shared anxieties and experiences of a generation that grew up online. The imperfections make it real.
That mix of networking and solitude leads us right into this amazing case study from Japan, Vocaloid.
Yeah, this is a crucial piece of the puzzle. The launch of Hatsune Miku in 2007, she became this perfect symbol for bedroom culture. It's voice synthesis software fused with internet culture.
So it offered a kind of anonymity. You could be a brilliant musician without having to be a star.
Exactly. It created a huge structural change. It enabled what the sources call pop music without an author. Producers like Supercell, Deco27, Rio, Wawaka. Their fame was detached from their personality. The song itself was the star.
But the twist is that this solo creation, it didn't stay solo for long.
No, that's the magic of the network. On platforms like Nico Duga, a producer would post a song, and immediately thousands of users would comment, remix it, create art for it.
Instant feedback.
Instant, powerful feedback. So that initial solo creation was transformed into a multi-person resonance, a collective creation.
So there's a kind of feedback loop.
A perfect feedback loop. The sources map it out. It starts in the bedroom, goes through the DAW, gets announced on SNS YouTube to the listener, who provides feedback through comments, which loops right back to the bedroom for recreation. It's a perpetual motion machine of creativity.
It's a machine that never stops.
Yeah.
Okay, so fast forward to today, the 2020s. The bedroom studio is still evolving. What are the new tools shaping this space?
Well, the sources point to two really interesting, almost opposing trends. First, You have AI composition tools acting as an assistant.
An assistant.
Yeah, taking over some of the laborious, repetitive tasks, which helps ease some of that anxiety of handling everything we talked about.
Okay. And the other trend?
It's a pushback against all that digital perfection.
Yeah.
The return of modular synths.
So physical hardware.
Physical hardware that brings back a really important analog feeling. It brings back randomness into an otherwise predictable digital workflow.
So music creation has really evolved from being just the world of the individual
To a co-creation between the individual and the machine. The bedroom isn't just a studio anymore. It's a comprehensive creation atelier where you make the music, the video, the brand, everything, all at once.
That's a perfect summary. The sound of the bedroom producer.
Yeah.
It starts as the sound of loneliness, but as we've laid out, it's also the sound of this incredible solidarity. It connects all these rooms through the network.
It's a new form of community, replacing the old ones like the club or the festival.
Yeah.
The music has come back into the individual's hands, and those hands are now directly wired to the whole world through a mouse and a keyboard. It's a fundamental change.
And that whole reality is just perfectly captured in this one powerful quote from our sources that frames the entire movement. From my room to your world.
That says it all.
It really does. So as you're thinking about this whole journey from clunky tape machines to AI assistants, we want you to consider one thing. Think about how this whole evolution, the embrace of a lo-fi sound, the power of digital solitude, the network sharing, how it led directly to the massive rise of lo-fi hip-hop and chill-hop.
That whole beat culture.
Exactly. That culture, with its reliance on samples, its deliberate imperfection, its constant digital presence, it perfectly embodies the entire revolution we've talked about today. Think about that next time you hear that muted kick drum and a bit of vinyl crackle. That's the sound of the revolution.